Hey guys, RanterInShades here, exercising my First Amendment rights vlog style. Now this word analysis video is going to be more expansive than a lot of the other videos I've made in this little series. And what I mean by that is, apart from talking about the term social justice warrior or SJW itself, there's a particular aspect about the usage of the term that I want to talk about later in this video. Oh boy, time for another lengthy backstory. So a while back, like last summer, I saw a video on my recommended videos from a YouTuber called The Metal Monster called Can Metal Elitism Be a Good Thing? Of course, being as I'm someone who's made a multitude of videos about that subject, this jumped out at me. This video wasn't going to be a response to that video since I've already commented on it, but this is important to understand the context of what got me to start thinking about the subject of this video. It's also not the worst video I've seen about the subject, so if you want to check his video out, I'll leave a link in the description. Here's the comment I left. Being against metal elitism doesn't have anything to do with opinions or not wanting feelings hurt. It annoys me when people get that twisted. It mostly has to do with disdain for saying certain genres aren't metal when they clearly are, saying that fans of certain bands or genres can't listen to certain other bands or genres, acting like being well-known or popular is a bad thing, etc. It's fine if you don't like certain bands or genres, but that's not what the problem is. Not liking Attila isn't what makes someone an elitist. Hell, I don't like them myself. But are they metal? Yes. Metalcore and deathcore are both metal. Hate to sound condescending, but deal with it. You stated what the no true Scotsman fallacy is and why it's bad to partake in it, but that's exactly what metal elitists do, so I fail to see how it can be a good thing. You then mentioned it's for the sake of purism, but that ends up turning your argument into the same fallacy you said was unwise, so I think you contradicted yourself there. Everything else in the video I pretty much agree with, so I'll ask again. How exactly is using a no true Scotsman just because you don't like a band or genre supposed to be a good thing, and how does it really help metal? Now tell me, does this sound like an unreasonable comment? Was I whining and crying and throwing a temper tantrum? No, I've never been the kind to do that in videos or comments, even in my 2013 videos. All I did was leave my thoughts correcting Metal Monster's idea of what he thinks people like me refer to as elitists, which I basically debunked in both my Common Misconceptions video and my commentary on Downfall Network, as well as point out a flaw in his argument. It's not me trying to start a fight or engage in drama or anything like that. You'd think a comment politely criticizing his points would intrigue Metal Monster to reply, either correcting any points I missed or say, you know what, you make a good point, Shades. But nope, I got nothing from him. Instead, this is what I get. What's the matter, pussy? Did you get triggered? What he said was spot on. You just got your feelings hurt. By the way, yes, more people have thrown around the word elitist and poser in the metal community. You remind me of an SJW that dismisses arguments by throwing around insults without knowing what they mean. Purism is a good thing whether you like it or not. If you and other snowflakes like you have a problem with it, then leave the community. In other words, I got no response to anything I said in my comment. Instead, I essentially got this.
If you don't like America, you get it.
I then replied saying this. Did I throw any insults in my comment? No. Contrary to what people like you seem to think, elitist is not being used as an insult. Other than point out a contradiction regarding a fallacy, did I dismiss any arguments? No. In fact, you pretty much did exactly what you think I did. Throw insults as a means of dismissing the argument. How about actually responding to my points and explain why you think I'm wrong? So logically, he understood the error in his ways and apologized. Nah, he didn't refute me at all. Okay, you fucking idiot. Let's start off with the fact that you completely ignored why he defended elitism. You just wrote it off as him being uneducated because you didn't like him ripping on people like you who do nothing but whine about it all the time. You and others say it's the metal elitists / purists that's ruining metal, when in fact it's the opposite. It's you fucking pansies that constantly whine that are really ruining metal. You all can't accept that metal is a conservative genre that doesn't give a fuck about your feelings. The only contradictions I see in the metal community for the most part comes from all you SJWs getting triggered over mean things being said about your bands and or yourself. For your information, metal was just fine without people like you trying to go all PC culture on it. Here's the thing, if you and others have a problem with the way the community runs, then get the fuck out. Your kind isn't welcome here anyways. Yes, I'm throwing insults at you because you're a dipshit that has no clue what he's talking about. I find it humorous that you only have 3,000 subs. What's the matter? Are you just not liked or popular enough? I hope I addressed your comment plenty. Feel free to explain why you're a butthurt little bitch that has nothing better to do than whine about other people's opinions. Whew. In other words, more strawmanning my points, making assumptions about what my ideas are about the subject of elitism in a way that makes it obvious he just clicked on my channel and looked at the titles and thumbnails of my videos without watching them at all, restating shit from his previous comment, a random jab at my subscriber count as if that's supposed to offend me, and more of something that I've had said about me before that's going to be the main point of this video. This idea that anti-elitists are SJWs. That's right, because I promote the concept of all metal being real / true metal, and that everyone should should be able to listen to what they want without being ridiculed, I'm a social justice warrior. I mean, it's not like I have a playlist on my channel of videos with anti-SJW themes. It's not like I'm subscribed to a bunch of anti-SJW YouTubers. Nope, I'm a social justice warrior because I'm against purism and elitism and metal. Are you freaking kidding me? I mean, thinking about the word purist, I can kind of get that being against purism and metal falls under a similar line of reasoning as being against white nationalism, but even then, people like me that are anti-SJW are against white nationalism too. So is that really enough to label someone as an SJW? And I can also kind of get that the idea of listening to what you want without ridicule falls under a similar line of reasoning as being free to be attracted to, date, marry, and have sex with whomever you want so long as it's consensual. But again, that isn't a belief that's specific to just SJWs either. It's like, yeah, no shit, I'm against white nationalism and believe everyone should be able to be romantically or sexually involved with whoever you want as long as everyone's consenting. But you can have those opinions and still be against social justice warriors. It's not that hard of a concept to comprehend. It's shit like this that make me think people don't understand what a social justice warrior really is. So now I'm going to talk about the term social justice warrior, because not only do I see the term being thrown around arbitrarily and no differently than words like Nazi, misogynist, and bigotry are, but I also see people on the other side of the debate strawmanning what we think an SJW is, and I really think the record needs to be set straight, and hopefully I can be articulate in doing so. The most basic summing up I can give of what exactly a social justice warrior is this. A social justice warrior is someone who has very far left radical feminist opinions, feels a constant need to show off their views so their friends or followers can validate them and view them as a good and moral person on the right side of history, as well as a constant need to police others' language, morality, and even jokes, complains about popular media, and argues that anything that doesn't adhere to their standards is problematic and cannot be enjoyed or supported by anyone lest they be hateful pieces of shit, and finally, labels anyone that doesn't agree with certain things they say or do as a hateful bigot, and someone who doesn't deserve a platform, deserves to be censored as well as being disowned by their friends and family, and essentially have their life ruined. That was a mouthful. SJWs are also the kinds of people that think being centered and nuanced with their opinions is just as bad as actually being a Nazi or a misogynist or racist, etc. The kinds of people that think YouTubers like Armored Skeptics, Some Black Guy, Chris Reagan, and even Nate Talks to You are horrible people just because they have criticisms of social justice culture, even despite trying to be reasonable in their videos and encouraging dialogue. They more than likely feel the same about the speech David Draymond of Disturbed gave about equality during their 2016 tour that I happened to experience firsthand, that official GATG and I talked about on his channel.
Hashtags do not determine your fucking fate, people. There's too many people in this country, fuck it. There's too many people in this world who are pitting us against each other. And I'm sick and fucking tired of seeing it. Just look at you. Look at you here tonight. All walks of life, all colors of skin. Everyone is welcome here. If we stop being so divisive in this fucking environment, if we stop worrying about what fucking hashtag we have to follow in these fucking times, if we only spread a little bit more love, care, and understanding for each other, maybe we wouldn't be in this fucking mess in the first place.
Now, if you want to get an idea of what exactly my opinions are about SJWs, feel free to check out any of the videos I have in my anti-SJW videos playlist, because you'll find that my opinions are a lot more nuanced than you think. What do I mean by this? I mean that there's a difference between being against social justice and being against social justice warriors. Most people that criticize SJWs aren't even against social justice as a whole. They just don't agree with certain select ideas they have or their methods of conviction and argumentation. But nobody is saying anyone doesn't deserve equal rights, that is, unless you're a criminal. I'm also not someone who conflates SJW with liberal or leftist. It's one of those rectangle rules where all squares are rectangles, but not all rectangles are squares. In the case of SJWs, all SJWs are liberal, but not all liberals are SJWs. On the flip side, all conservatives are anti-SJWs, but not all anti-SJWs are conservative. It annoys me when these terms get conflated. I'm a center-left classical liberal. Does that make me an SJW?
No.
And classical liberal isn't a right-wing position, so I'm not conservative either, as if being anti-SJW even implies that in the first place, and as if being conservative is even supposed to be a bad thing. It's also a similar reason why I don't label myself as an anti-feminist or conflate anti-feminist with anti-SJW. My feelings are there's a time and a place for feminism, and that feminism at its core has the best of intentions. However, I don't identify as a feminist and don't agree with radical feminists along the lines of Anita Sarkeesian. I'm not going to care if you're a feminist so long as you don't fall in line with the definition I gave earlier of what a social justice warrior is, and actually make an effort to have dialogue and understand where people are coming from if they don't agree with you on something. A good example of this is Lacey Lacey Green when she started dating Chris Raygun, or my friend Melly Misfit. She's a feminist, but she's nuanced and thus is not hard to talk to at all. If you want an example of someone that's considered an SJW, not just by me, but by the majority of the internet, I got 2 words. Steve Shives. I know he's an overdone example, but he's an example nonetheless. He's someone that not only spouts very silly extreme left and radical feminist viewpoints, but also labels anyone that doesn't fall in line with his ideals as a hateful, bigoted, deplorable piece of shit that deserves to be deplatformed and disassociated from, and even goes as far as to have a bot on Twitter that blocks anyone that associates with or even just likes someone he dislikes. Thus is why I not only consider him to be a terrible YouTuber, but one of the worst people ever. Is Shives an extreme case here? Yeah, but my point in using him as an example of an SJW is to say that as long as you're nothing like him or his pals, and if you don't say shit like,
"You're either a feminist or you're sexist,"
or
"Opinions can be wrong,"
I'm not going to consider you an SJW, and no one else should either. This relates to something I said in my Downfall Network video that I mentioned in one of my comments on the Metal Monsters video, how elitist isn't supposed to be some buzzword used to describe anyone who doesn't like metalcore, or dislikes bands like Avenged Sevenfold. That's not how I use the word, and it's not how I use SJW either. If I don't like buzzwords being thrown at people like me and my friends, why would I do the same to others? That's what's called consistency! I love playing that clip, don't I? Like I said in my buddy Nielsen video, I don't even disagree with most leftist ideas. It's just radical shit that people like Steve Shives and his ilk perpetuate that make people like me feel alienated by the left. And this was one of the biggest reasons why 2016 and even 2017 were so shitty for me. It didn't get to a point where I became full-on right-wing. It would take a lot for me to do that, but I felt disenfranchised. And I'm not the only one that felt that way, even to this day. So imagine how laughable I find it when people like Metal Elitists try to label me as an SJW. Me, an SJW, as if the subject of metal elitism has anything to do with social justice. They have hardly anything to do with each other. How can I be an SJW with the opinions you've heard just now? Social justice is irrelevant to the discussion about freedom of taste that I specialize in promoting on this channel. It'd be one thing if I was calling metal elitists bigoted pieces of shit left and right in my videos, but I'm not even doing that. If we're going by the dictionary definition of bigot, which is a person who is intolerant toward those holding different opinions, then yeah, calling metal elitists bigots would be more or less justified, as would calling SJWs bigots, FYI. But there's a difference between that and insinuating that they hate anyone that isn't a straight white man, which I've never ever done in any of my videos about metal elitists. Even if I would do that, in the context of what the discussion is about, it would be an ad hominem on my part and an attempt at derailing from the argument, which is a shitty thing to do in a debate. That's why I don't do it. I'm the kind of person that attacks an argument head on without having to insult the person or throw buzzwords at them. The only time calling a metal elitist a bigoted piece of shit would be relevant is if they were trying to argue that metal is a conservative art form and that only straight white men and no one else are allowed to listen to and play it. Anywhere else in the context of musical discussion is uncalled for. The only opinion I have that's even close to that of an SJW when it comes to the topic of metal or elitism, and even then I don't think it's really indicative of someone being an SJW, is that metal and all its subgenres are for everyone. Men, women, adults, kids, gay people, straight people, bi people, trans people, asexual people, Christians, Jews, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, atheists, white people, black people, Asian people, Hispanic people, Indian people, Native Americans, liberals, conservatives, libertarians, centrists, physically disabled people, mentally disabled people, able-bodied people, beautiful people, physically deformed people, etc., should be allowed to listen to and even perform metal without being discriminated against. That's it. That really a bad thing? If that's really enough for someone to be labeled as an SJW, then you're part of the reason why people think SJW is a stupid buzzword when it really shouldn't be.
Wait, Shades, I got a question. How can you be against language policing when you have a series called Word Analysis?
Because I'm not trying to argue that words like poser, fanboy, or sellout are offensive, or that anyone who uses them are scumbags. This series is mostly about shit that's thrown around a lot by people to the point of being misused. You really think that's enough to label me as an SJW?
But you said SJWs show off their views so they can be validated. Don't you do that just by making videos?
Really? If that's the case, then by your logic, literally everyone that makes commentary-based videos on this site is a social justice warrior. Are you really gonna reach that hard just to pull the hypocrisy card? Because that's dumb. To close out this video, let me re-emphasize. If you're gonna call me a social justice warrior, I need to ask, have you seen my channel? I've made 2 pro-Metalgate videos, a video destroying Sony supports rape, a video calling people who say, "Don't agree with me, unfriend me," childish, a video defending a band that got dropped from their record label for expressing anti-SJW opinions in a venue outside their music, a video debunking the idea that the Grammys are sexist because Kesha didn't win an award for a song about her personal struggles, have appeared in videos on official GATG's channel, channel that have to do with criticizing SJW ideas, am subscribed to numerous anti-SJW/skeptic YouTubers, and to top it off, openly identify as anti-SJW. Clearly I'm an SJW, guys. Even if the term was used in the correct context, you'd still be wrong. I'm Shades, and I'll see you next time.